Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss two chapters from Snapshots. One is Ranga's marriage, and the second one is Albert Einstein at school. Yes, so apart from a little bit of your writing skills, whatever is left, we'll deal with that also. Next week, I'll start with a revision of Hornbill. So make sure that you go to the chapters and we'll discuss them together. Right? Yes. Now about Ranga's marriage. So when we talk about this chapter, there are a few things that you have to keep in mind. Yes, for the main characters, obviously it is Ranga Rao, and we have Ratna. She's Rama Rao's daughter, no, niece, right? Yeah, Rama Rao's niece, and we have the narrator. And Ranga's marriage. Why is it so important here? And the title also, which the narrator has also discussed. It could be Ranga's Vivah, Kalyan. Why marriage? Because he is also talking about the changes that have happened in our society. When people start leaving their homes, their villages, and going to bigger cities for education, for better opportunities, that what changes happen in their outlook, in their behavior, the way they interact, how their thoughts also change, right? This is what has been discussed in this chapter, right? Ranga's marriage. But on the other hand, we have the character, the narrator, Shama, how he is maybe representative of the people who do not want change to happen, who are they're very conservative, very orthodox in their thinking, right? So he does not want that Ranga should change in his opinion, and he thinks that he's got a chance to go to Bangalore for higher studies. Yes, Ranga has been exposed to the bigger city, the work culture, the education aspect there, better opportunities that he's going to get. And there's always a doubt in everyone's mind. So whether it is parents or whether it is relatives, more I would say than the parents, that once his child leaves this place, he's never going to return. And the only thing that is, so nowadays when we talk about the Indian diaspora also, we know that how many students they are going abroad for studies and jobs and so-called, they say, for better opportunities, and many of them don't come back. And so what do parents do? That is one way which they think that is going to keep them connected with their motherland, which is going to keep them connected with their country. It is through marriage. So they want them to get married over here. So at least they'll come back to meet those relations that will keep them connected. And this is what Shama does. Very clever he is. So how does the chapter begin? It begins with Shama telling about his village. Which village is it? It is Hosa Hali. It's a small village. He says that even the cartographer, the people who made the maps, they also forgot to put it on the map, right? And he says that one thing followed the other. When the Britishers forgot to put it, the Indians also forgot to mention it there. But he tells that yes, it's a place worth visiting. He's very proud of his village. So what? It is not there for everybody to see, right? But he is very proud about it. And the aspects that he is proud of, right, from the small things, which is there, like he talks about the mangoes, the sourness of the mangoes, that if you make chutney out of it, the sourness is definitely going to hit you. You're going to get a cough. And he says, even I didn't know about this. How did I come to know? After I had a cough and when I went to the doctor for treatment, then he said, did you eat those sour mangoes? And then when I said yes, so he told him that this particular sourness is only these mangoes here. Nowhere else are you going to find such quality. And so he is there, right? He said this is something very, to be very proud of that in his village, right? Secondly, he talks about the creeper which grows near the pond. And he says that if you go over there and you take the leaves of the creeper plant, you are done. You don't have to worry about the plates for your lunch, right? And these are little things which he takes great pride in. So he's very attached to his village, and he does talk about other people who have been to other places. And he says that to be well traveled, it is not necessary that you have to go to all these fancy destinations abroad. Only then you're a well traveled person. He said if you've stepped outside your village, if you've gone to another village, you've gone to another city, you're able to make that comparison, right? So that also qualifies as being traveled widely, right? So he says that yes, there are people who have gone to other places, but they also come back and say that our village is the best. So there's no place like home, as they say, and there's no place like Hosa Alu, right? So he says that yes, everybody has agreed to it, that there is no place as good as his village. And in fact, he sends an invitation to the readers also that you please come and visit whenever you get the time. He'll help us go through it, he'll guide us there, right? Now, it is, then he talks about, what does he talk about? He talks about a very important moment which happens over there in his village, and that is the accountant's son, Ranga, he goes to Bangalore, yeah, for his higher studies. And then he also talks about that how important his village is. You know, like you have the wedding celebration, it is incomplete without sweets, and a particular sweet he talks about. So, like the filling of that sweet, right? That is what he compares his village to. So, right, the state of Mysore is incomplete without his village. So, it is like that filling, right? So, it is like that icing on the cake, right? Or the cherry on the top, maybe, right? So he there talks about that how important his village is for the existence of this state. And so he talks about how the accountant's son, Ranga, he's gone to Bangalore for higher studies, and now he's come back. And yes, everybody is curious to see him. What is the change? There are certain changes which are immediately visible. The way you dress up, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the way you conduct yourself, right? These things are very visible, right, to anyone there noticing you are coming to visit you, right? And like everybody is there from the village, they're going to his house, they want to see what does he look like now, how does he talk, and how is he behaving. And they realize when, you know, like of course they look, he's not changed, he looks the same only. One by one everybody started coming back, right? And he talks about the top people there. He talks about a little mannered boy who tells him that what are you doing over here, and right. So he does come to know that Shama was one of the first person to go over there. He goes and talks to Ranga. And how is he satisfied? He sees that he's still wearing the sacred thread. He has, right, he's still attached to his, you can say, customs and religion. He is not changed that way. And the way he does the namaskara to the narrator, he's touching his feet and all, and he thinks that okay, so very well what cultured he still is, he has not forgotten. One thing he does notice that yes, when you do go out, you the language that you speak, it changes, right? Maybe the way you speak also changes. Although it's very common, you know, that our dialect, it changes almost you know, like after short distance. You see within the state also that districts also, they have their very particular dialect. The way of speaking the same language is different. So he says that it's not only the way of language also, but the words that we start adding. And that is why he talks about the title Ranga's Marriage, right? That how we add words to our vocabulary, and very, you know, unconsciously, he Ranga, he's started adding these English words to his speech, right? And that is one noticeable change. But the sad part is, or the funny part is that many of the villagers don't understand the words that he used. Like he says that lady had come to sell firewood, and right, so he tells that I don't have the change, or right, or and so she does not know what change is, right? So here it is that yes, so for us it becomes a part of our daily conversation. It becomes a part of our way of speaking, using words from another language, right? But for others, it might be something new. They're not aware of those words. And this is, yes, like nowadays when we do speak, if we see our conversation also, it's very rarely that we will speak in one pure language. And yes, of course, like here, like I'm giving a lecture, or when you are giving an answer, you are going to speak in the same language. But when we are there with our friends and family and relatives, so you might speak a mixture of that. You might start off in Hindi, you add a few Punjabi words, you add a few English words, right? So it becomes very common, and even the other person understands because those words even he is aware of, unless and until you go to another state, right? But here it is, he says it's common practice to add these words. Now, so far, so good. Shama is very happy with Ranga that there are no changes, right? But immediately, a thought comes to Shama's mind that this person, now, of course, he's such a good person, and before any more change happens in him, let's get him married. And then he asks him his opinion about marriage. And to his shock, what does Ranga tell him? That he says that no, I don't want to get married so soon. I will wait for some time, and yes, I want to get married at the right age. And he talks about how one of his, like an officer he knows, a senior he knows, how he got married late, and he got married to a person of his age, and how they're compatible, how they understand each other, right? He says, I don't get to get married to someone who's so young, who does not even understand what I'm saying or what he or she is, like they're trying to convey. So, like, this is one thing which shocks our narrator, Shama, and he's not really very happy with that. He says that no, this is that Ranga is a very good boy and he should be married off at a proper age, right? And yes, so here Ranga also gives the quotation of what he talks about Shakuntala, the play, and he talks about the Shyans, and yes, so that's how they were mature. They understood each other, and he wants that level of understanding. So we are talking about the state, the social system over there. So right, maybe it was that yes, the children were married at a young age, right? The girls were married off at a young age. And now, Shama, it's a big responsibility on him that I have to get Ranga married. What does he do? He knows that Rama Rao's niece, Ratna, she lost her parents and she's staying with her uncle. And she's a good girl, she knows music, and yes, so she's very religious and a very homely girl, and he thinks that she is the right match. But will Ranga agree? Now the whole plan is that the Shama, how he gets Ranga married off, right? And he makes this plan. He starts by putting these thoughts in his mind. First of all, he tells like Ranga to come and fetch buttermilk, isn't it, from his house? And yes, when he goes over there, so Rama Rao's niece is there, Ratna is there, and she is singing a song, a bhajan, and right, she's dressed very nicely in a very nice sari because it's a like a special day, and she knows how to play the veena also, and is she's good at music, and she starts singing that song. But when she sees like Ranga, she stops, right? And but Ranga, of course, when he sees that girl, he does not want to move, right? And he has come, I think so, to give like what oranges at their house, isn't it? That is when he meets him and he tells about his opinion about marriage. Now he's called him on the pretext of collecting buttermilk, and he makes both of them see each other, meet each other. And Ranga is greatly impressed by the singing of that girl, right? And he does not want to move away from that. But the girl gets very nervous and she stops singing. Now, when, like, yes, so he asks him about who she is, and he's, like making fun of him, that why are you asking? You're not the marrying kind. And then, like he makes just an act there, he pretends that he's gone inside and he's asked, and he knows the truth already, that this girl is not married. But he goes and tells him that, yes, she is Rama Rao's niece, and she is married, right? And it seems as if Ranga is a little disappointed when he gets this information. Now Shama, he carries this plan a little further. He joins hands with the Shastri. He goes to the Shastri. Who is the Shastri? He's the astrologer, right? So he makes this plan with him, and he tells him that I am going to bring Ranga, and these are the things that you have to tell him. These are the things you have to, right, make him very sure that he is going to marry that girl, Ratna, right? So yes, so he goes to Ranga's house, and he says that I'm not well and I have a headache and all. And Shama says that, see, even I used to have a headache when my parents were looking for a suitable girl for me. But in your case, that should not be the problem. Why are you having a headache? And then he says that maybe I have a cure. Let's go to the astrologer. He takes him to the village Shastri, and he's already tutored him. He's already told him what to say, right? So it is here once again that astrology is a recognized science. But once again, anything can be used to what? Fool people. And we can use anything for our benefit, right? So here also, astrologer is going to manipulate information, is going to manipulate things for his benefit and to fool maybe Ranga, right? So because they want to meet their plan to be successful, right? And what does astrologer tell him? That, see, like maybe your problem, it is because of something which is obtained from the ocean. And it is like, of course, they make these guesses. So is it kamal? Is it moss? Is it pearls, ratna, gems, right? And yes, the pearl, they're coming from the ocean. And yes, so that time, that is when Ranga thinks. But then Shama says that no, it can't be, because that girl is married, and this cannot happen, right? And Ranga is disappointed. And when they go back home, now Shama is very, very sure that yes, Ranga will definitely agree to marrying Ratna, because he's planting all these thoughts in his mind, right? So right from the beginning, about making him meet the girl, and then talking about her and telling that your problems are because of someone called Ratna, and there's only one Ratna that they know. And so right, so finally the plan of getting him married materializes. And what does Shama do? He just makes a pretext of going into Ramara's house, and he comes back and he says that, oh, I thought she was married, but no, she's not. And of course, so that means the path is clear for Ranga to get married. And at the end of the chapter, what is it? Yes, that Ranga and Ratna, they've married, and they've named their child after the narrator, and he's the godfather to their child. So once again, if people are adamant through whatever means, if they want to change the thinking of a person, no matter how broad-minded he might have become, no matter how educated he might become. So sometimes we do have clever, manipulative characters like Shama, who are able to change the situations according to their need. And yes, we'll say that certain these people are afraid of change, and they don't want things to change here. So an educated person like Ranga also falling into that trap, and right, so maybe carrying on with the tradition of society. Like we see that she was married here, Ranga was Ratna was quite a young girl and getting married at a young age. We do talk about these social systems. So sometimes it is the conservative thinking, it is the orthodox thinking of people which does not allow change to happen, right? So we don't need, maybe, yes, Suranga was married off, but things have changed. Things don't happen like that. Yes, astrology, right, horoscopes, they do play a part. Many people, they do, believe in that. But once again, it is our rational thinking, right? These are things which bring about a lot of change in society, right? It is also, it's about how aware you are, how educated you are. You should give your daughters, maybe the right to choose their partners. Let them get educated, let them be independent, and then we can think about these. No doubt, yes, the institution of marriage is very important, and it does reflect the changes that happen in society. And nowadays, a lot of changes have happened, and it's very rarely that people would get married the way that Ranga did, right? So someone there just bringing that person there in front of you and convincing you to get married, right? So that is there how like what brave you are or how firm you are in your beliefs that you will not get changed, right? So when you talk about Ranga's marriage, these are the basic things that we have to remember. These are the things that would be covered here, right? Okay. Now the next chapter, the last chapter for this term that is included, that is Albert Einstein at school. So there is always scope for change. There is always scope for improvement. So many things happen in society when we talk about our education system, right? And Albert Einstein, we all know a genius, right? And how he was not comfortable at school. And nowadays, yes, people who want to study, when we have read about all these scientists and we do read about how it was their efforts, their dedication, their consistency, their determination, which led them to this path of success, right? How important was the school system in molding their, like behavior or their. So yes, if we talk about Albert Einstein, here this chapter, it focuses on the education system. Albert Einstein was not happy at school. Why was it so? A genius who was not understood because he was not comfortable with the traditional setup of the education system. He questioned the education system. He was not happy with it, and he was not happy with the way things were taught, right? And of course, that is way back, and nowadays a lot of changes have happened in the education system. We have adapted to the change, right? This pandemic, it taught us that yes, if we want our students to learn, if we want to learn, we have to change the way we teach and the way we learn. And so right now we are here in this online mode of teaching. So it was the need of the hour, we need to change it. There are many things that have also changed, like maybe, yes, so that self-study becomes a priority. So, right, so the curriculum changes also there, focusing on the student. And once again here, it is, yes, making the education system more student-centered. A student has to be the focus of that. We have to change the way we teach according to the needs of our student. But this did not happen in the case of Albert Einstein, right? What was his problem? He went to school, of course, yes, he did go there, and he was not happy there, and especially with the history class, when his teacher would ask him, when does this battle take place? And he would never learn the dates, right? And many of us have a problem with that, learning history dates. And he says that if I want to know when this battle took place, I can always find up in my books. I can read in the books. Why do I have to remember the dates? That was his problem. He said, I cannot cram things up, right? And if telling me when this took place, you're giving me information, you're giving me facts, that is not learning. That is not education. So he questioned the whole system, he questioned his teacher. And of course, yes, teachers don't like to be questioned, right? So he was not happy with the way he behaved, and he would constantly point out, right? He says, you're talking about that when this battle took place, why don't you tell me why it took place? How many lives are lost? Why it happened, right? He said, I'll be more interested in knowing that. So he was not happy with the environment over there. Science, yes, he was wanted to read more, but once again, the limitations of the curriculum, the limitations of the syllabus was there. So, right, and his maths teacher was the only teacher who really understood his genius, who appreciated his genius. And in fact, he's told him that, see, I have taught you all that I know, and in a couple of years, you will be teaching me, right? Because yes, the genius of that man, the intelligence of that man, and how far and wide he would go on with his research and with his studies, right? And Albert was not happy at home. His father could not afford to put him, like in a hostel in the proper accommodation. So he was living in one of the very, you can say, underdeveloped or the slum areas of that place. And he was not happy with his lodgings. He was not happy with where he was living. Why? There was a lot of violence. Slum violence was there, people fighting, quarreling, right, hurting each other. Secondly, what else was there? The problem was that the home where he lived, the house where he lived, there was a lot of noise, right? The landlady, she would beat her children, cry, and she would be angry at them, and like, yes, so she was not a very quiet kind of a person. And then in the weekends, her husband would come drunk and then he would beat her. So there was a lot of domestic violence also. She was not at all happy. So, right, so it is there, like it needs to be addressed. We are constantly in that unhappy mode, right? So he's not happy in school, he's not happy at home, he did not have many friends that he could talk it out to someone. Whom could he talk to? Nobody was there to understand. He had an escape, like when he wanted to feel relaxed, he would play the violin. And right, so he had love of music, he played the violin, but his landlady did not like that noise. She said, like, in fact, she said, I don't like that howling noise, and right, it creates a lot of disturbance. And so he wanted to tell her that you make more noise than I do, the way you treat your kids. But he did not say anything. So he was a sensible, well behaved person. So he could not play the violin also there frequently because his landlady was not happy with that. Now he is thinking of a way out. See, when you are unhappy with the system, you will find a way to escape it, right? And like we have students there, right, making excuses, not attending the classes, finding some reason or the other. The morning you wake up here, like, of course, when we had regular schools and proper schools, okay, so I'm having a stomach ache, I'm having a backache, finding an excuse not to attend school, especially when you have a test or you have an assignment to submit or work to do. That time we come up with very, very, you know, unique excuses. So here he had to find a way out. And what was that way that he thought? He came to this decision himself. That was, I will have to leave this school. And he decided that even if he had to make a fake certificate, he will get it done. And he thought that if he continues like this, he will definitely have a nervous breakdown. That means he was so upset. He was in a state of extreme unhappiness that this thought of having a nervous breakdown came to his mind. There was no one who could understand him. There was no one who could understand his problem, right? And naturally, here we also talk about that for one person, we are not going to change the whole system. And sometimes we get so comfortable with the way we are doing things, it's very difficult to get out of that regime, to get out of that routine. So he's decided, I'm going to have, like, I'm going to make a fake certificate, maybe having a nervous breakdown, and then I will find an excuse to leave the school. He talks to his friend, Yuri, asks him that, do you know any doctors? Right, so he says, like, of course, naturally, everybody there studying away from their family and going through difficult times did not have much money to spare. He says, I've not been to many doctors, but yes, I have a friend, a medical student, and so you can meet him. And he tells him that, see, if I keep on going like this, I am going to get a nervous breakdown. I need a certificate. So at least I can give it, and for some time I can find a break. I need to just go away. Right, so he plans to go away for 6 months, go to Milan, and there might be joining for higher studies. And so he's already thought about that. He's asked his maths teacher for reference, right? And his maths teacher is really ready to give that, right? And so he talks to Yuri, and Yuri says, yes, I know one friend, and he's just completed his degree. He can give you that. And he says that don't try to cheat him, don't try to fool him, and but tell him the truth, right? That what your problem is. So he goes to the doctor, and the doctor there, right, he says that fine, I will give you the medical certificate, right? Telling him that he has the nervous breakdown. And he says that if I continue going to school like this, and if I have to, like bear that situation again and again, I will definitely break down. So I won't be lying then. And so he gets the medical certificate, and he goes to the school. And to his surprise, before he could go outside the headmaster's office, waiting for his turn to meet him, he's already got the message. The headmaster wants to meet him. And he's quite happy that at least I don't have to wait for long. When he goes over there, he comes to know that he is being expelled from school, right? Why? Because everyone is really disturbed by his behavior. He questions the teachers, he does not do his work, he does not do what he's told to do, and in fact, he's like a kind of a rebel. And he is very surprised. And see the situation here. When he wanted to leave the school, yes, he was finding ways out. Now the school is there telling him to leave, and he's quite surprised that why are they telling me to leave? What have I done? But anyway, right, so he tells him that the headmaster, this year was already planning to leave. And so the headmaster says that if you leave on your own will, it's very good. Otherwise, we would have to expel you, right? And yes, so he wants to tell a few things, before leaving, that what is it that I think of your school and your system. And he just, slams the door very hard and just showing his disrespect. When the teacher tells him to close the door behind him, he doesn't do that, right? And he thinks that, yes, I've shown my resentment in that way. And so there he leaves, and when he meets his maths teacher, he says that I knew it before you did, that you would be leaving this place, right? Because he had asked for a reference also, and he knew about the condition of that child, and that he cannot fit in this system. In fact, his cousin also tells him that see, it's very easy to pass exams. You just have to cram up a few things and just rewrite those things in your exam. But Einstein is unable to do that. And so Albert Einstein, he gets expelled from school because he could not adapt with the system over there, because it was curbing his talent. It did not appreciate the genius of that person, right?